Great. Welcome, everybody. It's good to see you. I don't know how many first timers we have here. I know at least one. Anybody else first time for the breakfast? Okay, good. Well, welcome to the DORR Educational Breakfast. My name is Ellen Ferreira. I'm the president of DORR. And yay, proud president of DORR, I should say. And I wanted to just give a little recap about what's been going on and what will be going on. We had an incredibly wonderful and busy month last. Oh, that was still this month. Yes. We had a visit from Amy Klobuchar, which was unexpected and wonderful. Steve Segner and Connie hosted at El Portal, and we had with 2 days notice and no social media and no publicity in the paper. We had 270 people show up. It was incredible. So Scott Jablow better watch out if she decides to run for mayor. So don't, because she's very popular. The next day we had our May Day March, which was hosted by all the indivisible groups in the area, including in addition to Yavapai County, Verde Valley Dems and Democrats of the Red Rocks. And there were about 450 people there, not bad for a Thursday morning. The next day, we had the Resist Dance that DORR sponsored. It was a fundraising event at the Elks Lodge. We had about 100 people there, and we danced our brains out. We had a fabulous time. Anybody that was there knows how much fun that was. And then Sunday, we rested. So we had a very busy day, a week, I mean. In addition to that, well, I'll just tell you about what's coming up now. The next big event that we have is our regularly scheduled Open Door. This is from 5 to 7, the 30th of every month. We will have a reception dinner out in the breezeway outside of the DORR office at 102 Roadrunner Drive. Right across from City Hall. And this is a gathering. Just come, have some pizza, have something to drink, some dessert, and we just talk amongst ourselves. It's not like it's a guided discussion or anything like that, but DORR is a very welcoming place, and we want you to feel at home at our offices. And so we'd love people to just come and hang out and converse. Bring the kids, bring the dogs. But they're not getting any pizza. So that is the 30th of the month. It will fall a different day of the week every month. So please try to come on the 30th. Okay, so that's the 30th. June 8th is our next big event, which is a fundraiser for Governor Katie Hobbs. As you know, we have 3 Democrats at the top of our ticket here in Arizona, and we need to keep those 3 Democrats at the top of the ticket. Katie Hobbs will be here from 2:30 to 4:30. We have a lovely home in Thunder Mountain area, and we're going to have a beautiful reception for her. It is a fundraiser. If you go to the DORR website, you'll be able to find the link to sign up for that. Please sign up in advance so we know how many. It's a private home, so we need to know how many chairs to set up and what to expect. So, and how much food to make. So that's June the 8th, Sunday, June the 8th, 2:30. Okay, Wednesday, June the 11th. Liberal Ladies, which is an offshoot of After the March Indivisible, will be having a sign making party. We will be at Church of the Red Rocks. The last time we had a sign making party, it was at the Methodist Church. This one will be at Church of the Red Rocks, down in the lower level. We will provide all of the signage, the posters, the paint, whatever you need. So just come. That will be 11:30-ish on Wednesday, June 11th.
Why are we making those signs, Ellen?
We are making those signs, Mark, because we in this country do not believe in kings. In our country, other countries, okay, but not in our country. We're holding this march, and it is a nationwide mobilization on Saturday morning, June the 14th, because that same day in Washington, D.C., Donald Trump is throwing himself a birthday party And it will be a huge military display, which will cost the US taxpayers approximately $45 million, which, as you know, could go towards Head Start, towards Medicaid, towards all the things that our president would like and Congress would like to see cut. So we are having protests throughout the country, not in DC. We're boycotting DC that day. So if you live in the DC area or you'll be there, go to Virginia to protest. It's right across the river. So we will be making those signs, and hopefully we'll have a great showing. The event this time, the march, will be in Cottonwood. We will not be having one in Sedona. We are trying to unify the Verde Valley and our strength together. And so they have, people from elsewhere in the Verde Valley have come to Sedona for the past 2 marches, and we are all going to Cottonwood for this march. It's not that far. It's at something called Kids Park, which is on 12th Street in Cottonwood. It's a huge grassy area. We will then be marching down 89A. They'll come back to Kids Park and we'll have a rally. So this is something to look forward to. Please spread the word, because believe it or not, you know, we all may be plugged in, but not everybody else is. And they don't hear about these things. So it's important that you spread the word and bring neighbors and carpool or whatever. Just be there on the 14th. I wanted to announce that DORR is this close to publishing a resource guide of reliable sources for information that are not your mainstream media, that sometimes is owned by people that we don't care for or trust. And so our speaker today, Donna Martin, did a lot of work putting this resource guide together, and we are just about to release it. So look forward to that. We're also going to do a survey online, asking people what they would like to hear, what kind of topics we'd like to have for these breakfasts. So the breakfasts, again, are the 3rd Friday of every month, and it's a great place to share information, but we'd love to know what you guys want to hear about. And so we will be doing a survey. Today, I am really excited to have 2 wonderful speakers. The first one is Jackson James. Jackson is from Prescott. He's a remarkable young man, because we do not see that many young people involved in politics, period. And yet this is Jackson's passion. And he has just gotten word, a couple of weeks ago, that he was selected as an intern for the summer in Senator Mark Kelly's office in Washington. Just remarkable, and it says a lot about you, Jackson. We were talking about the kinds of people that get internships in Washington. These things are very competitive. And there are other interns that will be there in Mark Kelly's office from Harvard, from Duke, Brown, lots of Ivy League schools. And I'm proud to say that Jackson is going to represent Yavapai County Community College. That's just terrific. And you'll hear him speak. He's wonderful. He's going to present a capstone project that he did for civic engagement beyond voting, which is an indivisible group in Arizona, which you should all be familiar with. But they choose 9 or so young people, fellows, to be in this intense program for a semester. And they each have to do a capstone project. And Jackson's here to tell us about his. He's not going to have a lot of time. We could actually take a whole hour for his project, but we can't, because I wanted to get him in here to meet you before he goes to DC. And we already had this other program scheduled, which is kind of a follow-up from last month. Last month, we all put on little sticky notes. What keeps us up at night? What topics are of most interest and concern to us? And we were so overwhelmed by the number of sticky notes that we actually never got to have the discussion about what it is that's keeping us up at night. So Donna Martin, who facilitated that, is back here today, and she will corral the topics, and then we will focus on what we can do about those things that bother us so much. So without further ado, I would like to introduce Jackson James. Welcome.
Hey, Jackson.
Yep.
There's not a clicker,
Okay.
so you'll need to advance your slides from the.
Tap the right arrow.
Yeah,
Okay,
there you
perfect.
go.
Well, thanks to Ms. Burr's very generous introduction. I'm Jackson James. Today I'll be talking about my capstone project which is youth engagement. You can expect about a 10 to 12-minute project with about 8 slides total. And we're going to go through the results of my civic engagement project, what I found and what we've learned on how we can do, and then obviously new opportunities that will aid me in this project. So starting off, oh, you're good. Okay, perfect. So what is the problem? The problem that I found, especially being a young person in Yavapai County, being a member of Yavapai Community College, was that young people are disengaged from politics. They feel disenfranchised from it. They don't feel connected. And this is due to a lot of reasons. First one being local participation is very low. I spoke with Miss Michelle Burchill, which is the Yavapai County Recorder for elections, and people aged from 18 to 34 make up less than 20% of the total voting population in Yavapai County, opposed to the 40% age population aged 65 and above. So very disproportionate age brackets there, which, causes young people to feel like they don't have a say. Another reason is young people aren't exposed to politics very often. Oftentimes when I talk with my peers, it's either blank faces, blank expressions, or just things they regurgitate from what they hear back home. They don't have a lot of opportunities to engage beyond what's told to them, in their home environment. So that's a big reason why either they're very narrowly focused or they just don't pay attention at all. And, in rural communities, that is absolutely a big issue with education already lacking. Students just really don't have any opportunities unless they really try to find them. So that's a big problem with the young voters, especially younger demographics in rural areas. So what did I want to do with this information? Well, with my capstone project, my goal is to have someone under the age of 30 elected by 2030. And really, this was going to be a very big effort, because with the demographic being so disassociated and detached from politics in general, how am I not only going to communicate with this age group, but also encourage them and inspire them enough to actually want to run? So one of the ways that you do this is you educate them. When I spoke with Miss Michelle Burchill, the county recorder, she mentioned that there were citizen academies, which are 6 to 8 week training courses hosted all over Arizona that teach people about their local represented officials, what they actually do and what to expect. And one of the things I wanted to do was I wanted to bring young people to those academies. We really need to expose them to politics. We need to give them a new perspective. So what have I done so far to further this goal? First thing I've done is I created a civic engagement club at Yavapai College. This I felt was the most effective way to speak with people among my age group. Being a student leader at Yavapai College, this was overall a success. I found that it was difficult with students at Yavapai College. First and foremost, since it is a transitionary school, people are going in to get their associates. They want to get out as soon as possible. It's difficult to get them engaged, but it's also difficult to get them to focus away from their studies. So the best way I could figure out was how to communicate with them with what issues that they have. What were their biggest concerns? And of course, the biggest issue I found with young people, especially at a community college, was the economy. Prices were high. They couldn't afford the cost of living. Tuition, thankfully, Yavapai College was affordable, but still is breaking the bank. I've met students who are taking out loans just for, one semester that was $1,000. And just a community college is putting them into debt. So that's one way that I reached through them. I met with Miss Michelle Burchill, and thanks to the efforts of Laura Masters with Indivisible Rimrock, I became a part of a young progressive social media movement. It's a group of young people, including a good friend of mine, Richard Hector. We have a professional actor named Coop. And it's a big social media slash marketing effort to reach young people in Yavapai County and try to communicate with them. And so what have I learned from this process? Well, first and foremost, I learned that many elected roles go unnoticed by the public. A lot of people only focus on the presidential election, and then once that's over, they tap out. They're done. They think the president ran on all these issues, so that's their job. They're solely responsible for it. What they don't know is that your local taxes are decided on by your mayor, by your city council. They're choosing whether or not you're going to pay that 3% tax on groceries, not the president. And people don't quite understand this, especially with the rigged election sentiment that's going around. You see a lot of that, but nobody's actually talked to the county reporter. Nobody has actually visited the polling offices during the election where they see the process. Most kids, and this surprised me my age, don't even know that you can watch the process of the counting of the votes. There's a live stream. So there's so much information that needs to be introduced to these young people for them to become engaged. And yeah, and of course, one of the biggest things that students need are more pathways to leadership. For me, I got very lucky for my introduction. I met someone, Richard Hector, Dr. Hector, who was already very involved with Indivisible Democrat. I already was friends with his son. And because of that, that's how I got my in. But unless you meet that, that lucky fella who's already so ingrained, I never would have gotten to where I am. So we need to make it easier for students to gain those connections, whether that be through community college, through community engagement, events. So we just need to give them easier opportunities to meet people. And of course, what I've learned from this is that to communicate to these young people, you have to set an example. It requires education, strategy, and support. What I mean by this is, so to educate students, like, for example, I spoke with Yavapai College's, who used to be their chief of police, Mr. Gerald Cunningham. Phenomenal community leader. What he's done previously is he put together a democracy engagement event where he brought local elected representatives like Michelle Birchhill, like the county recorder, even a city council official to a Yavapai College event where they teach young people about what they do. So I spoke with him and he said that the most important thing is to actually put them face to face with their representatives, because it's so easy to see politics as this ethereal, far away monstrosity that, these men in these dark rooms with their suits and ties are writing your life away and you don't have a say, when really it's a lot more accessible about that. So you need to strategize how you communicate with these young people and find ways to directly connect them with their representatives. And of course, collaboration, like with these citizen academies, it involves a collaboration with several entities and elected officials throughout communities. You can't introduce students, you can't introduce young people to local policies, local policy-making efforts without introducing them to it. So working with local groups like Indivisible Prescott, Indivisible Rimrock, DORR, and all these wonderful communities, working with them, I was able to get support and talk with these students. So you need to collaborate. You need to go outside of your network to reach people, to reach younger people, because some people may not care about Indivisible Rimrock, the Yavapai Democrats, but they might have family that lives in Sedona. So they know, oh, political group in Sedona, that's perfect. I have an into that. So you really have to branch outside of your comfort zone. Next is the internship connection. This is what I will personally be trying to bring to my community with the internship with Senator Mark Kelly. First and foremost, I understand that most kids my age, and I've spoken with plenty of them, not only feel disenfranchised from politics, but they feel resentment. They feel anger. And a lot of the thing that I saw with Donald Trump, with young white men having voted for him majorly, is that he was their middle finger to a system they felt was broken. He represented their anger. It's not that they were malicious in their mind, but they felt like he understood how they felt. And because of this, I think this is because again, they don't have role models. They don't have any entry into politics except for the presidential election and what they hear from home. So really what I'm hoping to gain from this internship is to have the boots on the ground experience to be a bridge from that complete disenfranchisement to actually understanding more about politics. They need role models. They need connections. They need people they can relate to show them that politics isn't all evil. It's not all out to get them, and there are people working hard. So that's the biggest thing I'm hoping to bring back is boots on the ground experience and a direct retelling of the fact that people are out there to fight for them. And of course, with everything I'm going to learn, hopefully, especially with my club and community outreach efforts, I can try to spark someone's interest if someone likes legislation, or with the social media team, if someone's into marketing, I can let them know that you can do all of that with politics. You can use any skill set you have and you can flourish. And I think that's going to be a really great thing to introduce to my peers. And so the final message is a quote I found. What one generation tolerates, the next generation will embrace. And we really are seeing that divide with modern day politics, with the division and the conflict, because we're seeing old ideas being brought up as what should be present, and we're seeing new ideas conflicting with that. So it's a big battle of ideology. Who's right? What age, what era of America should we aspire to be like? And so we just have to make sure that what we tolerate, we understand that the next generation will embrace. We, again, need to be those role models. We need to set those examples. We need to connect young people with good workers, people that do good work for them, so they can have those examples set. And of course, youth voices matter. We are the future. And I do believe that we need a bigger say in politics, which is why this community outreach is so important. And we must build a sustainable culture of civic leadership. So this is a long-term project. So what I mean by sustainable is this club is going to last beyond my time at Yavapai College. Someone will take it over, someone will continue it. So we need to find young leaders. We need to engage these young leaders to a point where they will sustain the efforts. We can't do it alone. We need to build that network and keep it sustained. So I thank you for listening to my presentation. It was really wonderful to be here. Looks like we have, do we have time for?
Yeah, we have.
questions? Okay,
Yeah, okay. A couple of quick ones. How old are you?
21.
21. And what are your personal intentions? What's your immediate goal after Yavapai College? What are you studying and what is your
Well, first goal is to survive. But my next goal is to attend Northern Arizona University. I'm looking to get a philosophy, politics, and law degree. It's an interdisciplinary program with a minor in international studies. The main goal is just to contribute however I can, whether that be public service, whether that be government. I'm really just trying to get involved and try to serve my community. Oh, we got a lot of questions.
Thank you so much for coming today. The work you're doing is really critical. My concern is that we're not teaching our form of government in the schools anymore. Did you get any exposure to this? Like, your compatriots aren't getting any exposure to our form of government. In our high schools, it should be taught. We were taught. And I think it's something that's desperately needed. I'm concerned that we're going to lose our democracy.
Absolutely. And especially with the current attacks on education being had with this administration, we're finding that not only civic education is lacking, but as a whole, students aren't being instructed how to survive. Throughout my high school career, I'm not the best person to ask. I lived a very tumultuous childhood, which kind of carried into high school. But I definitely can say that with my experiences speaking to people my age, even, the high school students at Yavapai College, a lot of them are so disconnected that it is very clear that they don't understand how the system works.
It's critical.
So I would absolutely agree with that. And I do think civic education is a big must. And that's why I'm really hoping this club takes off, because it'll be a great way to instruct students. I believe, and you got to let me know if we're going over time.
Okay,
Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Jackson. Really appreciate your being here. I've got so many questions for you, and we don't have time for all of them. Number one, you said 20% of the 18 to 34 group are voters. How many are Democrats, Republicans, or independents in that group?
So with the data that was shared with me by the county recorder, very disproportionately favoring the Republicans. I don't have a specific number at my head, but I can say about maybe total, disregarding the age groups, the total population, voting population, I'd say about 30% were Democrat.
Right.
So that's interesting to know. Interesting to know. And I'm wondering whether you think that what you're doing will appeal not only to Democrats, but also to independents and young Republicans, because they may have minds that can be molded. I understand their history may have brought them to the Republican Party, but if they know a little bit more, if they can attend the citizens' academies, if they can be members of these groups, we may be able to attract them.
Absolutely.
And the third question is, do young people actually want to be represented? I know your premise is that their voices matter and they need to be represented, but I'm not sure. I think the desire to survive as young people in high school or college is something that really takes an awful lot of their time, and the rest of the time is maybe entertainment or relaxation. I don't know whether they want to be represented, and I hope you can tell me that there is a desire that we can plumb in order to try to bring them
Absolutely.
forward.
And in respect to the time, this will be the last question. If there are any further comments, please talk to me afterwards. I'm very passionate about this. I really want to hear what you have to say. So the first question about whether I will reach Republicans, absolutely. So I'm not so much concerned about party with this initiative. I'm concerned about empowerment. I want a young person to come to me, and I want them to walk away with more knowledge and more ability to be represented. I want them to know that they can call their representatives. I want to know that they can schedule appointments with city council, with their county recorders, with treasurers, and that they have so many chances to get involved that they just don't understand. So that if they feel that if they ever do want to change something, or they ever do want to get involved, that they can, and this is how. And it doesn't matter, Republican, Democrat, whether they want to rule the world or burn it down. I want to give these young people the choice and the ability to make the change they want to see, whatever that is. For your second question, it was whether young people want to be represented. I'd say absolutely. They're so angry at what's going on. They're so discontent with how, the economy is soaring. They're not being represented. Transgender LGBTQ rights has become such a hot topic that it feels like even identity is becoming a crisis. And again, I'd say that falls into the lack of education and empowerment. You wouldn't be angry about something if you didn't care, or if you didn't want to have an influence over it. So absolutely, they want to be represented. They just don't know that they can be. They don't know how. So I'd say absolutely to that second question, and yes to the first. And again, thank you so much for your time.
Good job, Jackson.
Really?
I just one quick comment. When I was kids' age, I was in SDS. And
Student for Democratic Action.
for Democrats. And it was pulling teeth to get people engaged.
Hurting cats.
It was very difficult. They were disconnected. Now, I'm going back to 1965, 66. It was very, very difficult. And our big demonstrations we had maybe 1/4 of the student body engaged in something like that. The rest of them were just like you described. Exactly that. And now we're going back 60 years. It's the same as it was then. So keep up the work.
Hopefully we'll change that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, John. Okay, here's the deal. There is a GoFundMe page for Jackson. It was started by the people at Rimrock Indivisible who mentored him. And we can put the link on the DORR website. I can't think of a better investment either than a kid like Jackson. The GoFundMe page is to help him fly to DC, spend, rent an apartment, eat, Wear decent clothes to represent.
Do they pay, does he get? do you know
No,
that?
they're not paying. They're paying him $15 an hour. Yeah.
Which doesn't start
So-
until the second month.
Which doesn't start till the second month. So, I mean, if there's a GoFundMe page, please, look for that and
share it.
and share it with people because what a great investment. Thank you so much. We're all rooting for you. And I just wanted to say that DORR is planning to start some sort of a youth council or youth group or something. We all say, oh, there's no young people in Sedona. There are young people in Sedona. And we are going to try to find them and we're going to try to engage them. And Jackson and Sarah Yost, who was on the DORR board, and I are going to meet after, for lunch today to discuss how do we get this going? What do we do to appeal to people? I forgot to introduce Karen McClellan, who wants to talk to us for just a brief second about the Democratic Perspective radio show fundraiser that the flyers are on your.
My real high-tech flyers are inside the computer. We would have done 20 years ago, somebody cut and paste. But we're having a fundraiser next Thursday at El Portal from 4 to 7. It's sort of this casual, but we will need to raise funds for the Democratic Perspective show. I'm sure some of you listen, we've been on the air for 15 years, but we pay for the airtime with the radio station. So we need to raise funds to keep that show on the air on that time. So we're gonna, we'll have wine and cheese or, appetizers and some fun. The two gentlemen, Chuck Helstein and Ryan Thompson, who own Chasm now, are going to talk about what radio is in the 21st century. It's, it's not what Chasm used to be, all sports and nothing else, but what you can do and the value of local media and radio, because it's not the radio you turn on, it's your internet, it's everything else, and how that can be used locally to create community just generally and provide information. So they're going to talk about some of those things. And the rest of it is we just really want your money. If you can't come and you want to give us the donation, we also really want your money. I know this time of year. There is our website. You can go into the vvid.org, Bernie Valley Independent Democrats website, and there is a donate button you can click on and give us some money. Because I think it's really important. I was just reading the newspaper this morning on Yavapai College. We did a show on Yavapai College a month or two back. I think it's time for another one. Because you talked about authoritarian things on the big picture. Yavapai College is turning into something where the president of the college makes all the decisions and the elected board is totally out of the loop. So it's in a microcosm. That's the same thing we're talking about nationally. So there's some issues like that we've talked about in the past and we'll continue to talk about.
Okay, thanks, Karen. Okay.
I just want to reiterate,
Come over here and then you'll be on the count.
I just want to reiterate Karen's point. I'm up here because my husband is the other member of the duo that runs the program. I've heard a lot of talk that radio is obsolete. Nobody listens to radio. You shouldn't spend any money on radio. It's not true. I urge you to go to the fundraiser because the two owners of the station are dyed-in-the-wool Democrats. They're dyed-in-the-wool Sedona supporters. They want to make it a local. And you'll hear what radio is, not our old people's idea of how it's failed. So I think there is no other independent, left-wing, progressive radio in all of Northern Arizona. So if you support Democrats, show up and listen to what it can do now. Thank you.
Thank you. I think it'll be a great fundraiser. And once again, the Segners, their generosity is amazing. Okay, now I would like to introduce again Donna Martin, who is a DORR member and a professional. She's got 25 years of experience in corporate training and development. So we have seized upon her skills and she is going to take us to the next step after follow through from last month's meeting. Welcome, Donna.
Thank you.
Yeah, we were completely overrun with stickies last time. We didn't get a chance. How many of you participated last? So almost everybody here. Awesome. So for those of you that were not here, what we did was We asked a big group of people in the room and the people that were online. I don't know how many people we ended up having participate in that.
About 35.
Yeah, about 35 people. Seemed like it-
Online.
Online?
Yeah,
Wow, how many in the room?
probably about the same, maybe
Wow.
40.
Yeah, so people really wanted to talk about what keeps them up at night. So we asked for them to come up with one idea per sticky for what keeps them up at night. So say, for example, immigration, you know, immigration, or they would put education, and we ran out of room to place all the stickies at the top of the room. And the next part of the process was to organize them into groups, give them a label, and for us to come up with what actions can we take, because a lot of people feel overwhelmed. A lot of people feel powerless. And particularly in the first quarter of the year, I don't think that anybody really knew what to do. I mean, people were like, what do we do? What do we do? And just within the last 2 or 3 months, it's become a lot clearer about what to do. So what I was going to do today was just to give you the top things that keep us up at night that y'all came up with. And if you want to know what the other topics were that didn't rank those top 5, I have the document up, and we can also post it where we can share it. I think a lot of people are curious about where all that stuff landed. And then we were going to talk about how what can we do in order to get into some kind of action. So it would seem counterproductive for me to talk about what we can do, what the actions that we can take first, so that when we have our discussion, we can look at our handout and plug in the actions that we can take for that particular issue. So we're going to hand these out. Ellen, you want to help me?
Yeah.
And so this was me, my research. This was Ellen's input. This was, I have one. I have one. This was Ellen's input. And the idea of this is not, this isn't comprehensive. If you see something, if you know of something that people are doing, let's add to the list. Let's just make this an ongoing list. I'll tell you, I saw one thing on Substack the other day where someone took a snippet of an ad that they took out in a newspaper. And I thought, what a great idea. So I added it to the list. So if you've seen something or heard of something, we can add to it. So first and foremost, let's go through this. Are we going down? I'm going to turn this kind of this way so I can see. Okay, good. Because this is not the same. Okay, actions that we can take. A lot of we've been doing this now for a few months, pushing people to call, asking people to make those calls, send emails, etc. Use your social media to let your elected officials know what's going on. The resources that I have on here, I have other resources. I'm building a resource list for DORR, but I thought I would put these up here as well. Is 5 calls. How many of you use 5 calls already? Yeah. So for those, how many of you don't know what 5 calls is? Okay. So 5 calls is a site that you can go into and make your voice heard. And you put in your location. So you put in your location. This is not my computer.
86396.
Thank you, because very difficult to type looking at. If I could just mirror, yeah.
Oh, you want to see?
I want to be able to type on the screen. I want to be able to
5 calls.
yeah.
Wait a minute.
Sure. I didn't tell you that I was going to have an extra links. Sorry about that. It did work. Yeah.
So we just need to go down.
Is it Sam? Is it Sam?
This is Sam.
So how many of you know Sam? Sam's going to be our savior. Sam has offered to help us with the technology. And I mean, thank goodness that you're here. Thank you so much for being here.
Went back a slide.
I will.
You were there.
Okay. There we go. Oh, awesome. Thank you. All right. So 5calls.org. Oops, this is sensitive. Can y'all see my screen?
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. So set your location. So easy to use. And I'm going to say allow this time. And so my location is Sedona. And then I can look what's important to you. Y'all pick one. Color one out.
Stop the state AI regulation ban in the budget reconciliation bill.
Big time. I agree with that.
This one here, okay, great. And so here's what it does, it's so cool, y'all. It gives you an overview of what's going on, okay? And then it tells you who you contact for this issue. It gives you the phone numbers.
Yeah, right.
Okay, come on. Still gotta do it, right? Okay, so you can make a call and we could call right now. And what it'll do, we're gonna admit her to the waiting room. Okay, let's see here. Let's say voicemail.
Actually, yeah.
Left a voicemail for Eli next up. And I think that's what it did, right? It just automatically left a voicemail. It did it for you. It's a click.
Wow.
Wow.
The enter name.
You mean it goes, my name is na, na, na.
I was hoping we would see.
No,
Here's what it is.
So I think
It just
that's if
gives you
you
the
get a
script.
voicemail.
Yeah,
If you get a voicemail, it doesn't give
it
you.
says after. you call,
Okay,
there's
so, all right, because I haven't used, I mean, mine's different because I just have, okay, so here we go.
I think
So
you
here's
just
the
call-
phone number, right? And then it tells you what to say. I'm calling to demand. How's that for a word? Demand. I'm calling to demand, Ruben, oppose, the budget conciliation process, blah, blah, blah. It tells you exactly what to say. And then after you leave the voicemail, you tell them what you did, which you left a voicemail, they were unavailable, et cetera. And then it goes into their database to see how many calls are being made about this topic. Awesome. So that's 5 calls
It's like on the left side of the year.
right here.
There's a script for each topic.
A script for each topic. It tells you what to say. So it takes the brain power completely out of it for me. I mean,
You're on the next slide.
here I am. Thank you. Okay, so Common Cause has the exact same thing for emails. How many of you have ever used this? I stumbled onto this as well. So, God, this is so seriously. Here we go. So Common Cause does the exact same thing. We're not going to fundraise right now.
You gotta click on the left side. Right side of the page.
So picky. Okay. All right. So here it tells you, gives you all of what's going on, right? Tell your senators to stop this hostile takeover. Tell Congress stop the Musk budget, and you can pick out what's your hot button, right? So let's just click on this, and they have all sorts of stuff. It's not just this. So take action. Let's just say, tell Congress to stop the budget. Take action. I know, it's definitely there.
Has to be everywhere.
Yeah, got it.
Events. What happened? Did I click the wrong thing?
What are you trying to do?
You're under donate.
I think if you just go back to your slide.
That's what I did.
Yeah, they'll get the idea.
So take action, and then it'll tell you, it'll do the exact same thing for email, and you copy and paste. I mean, you don't have to copy and paste anything. You just hit send. So it makes it so easy for us to bombard them, which I think is the goal. So I definitely wanted to show y'all those because it's such a great and easy tool. And then, of course, social media is another big one. And I don't know about you, I'm a little older and it's not my favorite thing to do social media. It's really not. And then I think that there's a real art to it to be effective. And I'm going to study all that and come back and report that out to y'all because it's to be effective in our messaging, which is really what we want to do. Then we need to know what to do and how to do it. And so there are people that we can bring in to talk about that. And then I can also just tell you what I've learned. I will tell you that one of the things that I learned was that if you send a postcard, it's really not helpful unless you follow it up with social media. So you have to it all has to be kind of strategic other than these 2 things that are right here. Hold this. What? Someone say something? Well, there's people send postcards and that's one of the lists too.
The electronic postcards?
No.
No.
You mean like the old 2020 vision?
Yes, old
postcards?
people, a pen and a stamp.
I did that during the Reagan
And there's actually a,
We did that in the last election.
Yeah.
Well, we did that in 1980.
yeah.
Very effective back then.
1980, we didn't have all this either. So, but here's the thing too, that there are people, there's a minority owned business that I give you a link to that I will add to the resource list that creates these postcards for you. And that for a nominal fee, you can support a minority owned business and get the postcards that are made for you, So, and I can share that with you in a resource list. Okay, we can also be seen by your member of Congress. We can write letters to the editor. We can attend town halls. We can show up at events. You have to know their schedule to be able to do that. You can also schedule a meeting with your member of Congress. It's doable. I don't know about how effective that is today with as much that's going on. So, but we can look into that. The thing I wanted to point out to you about writing letters to the editor is what I learned is that the elected officials do not like to see anything in their home. And we're gonna publish these slides for you. Okay, just so you know. Elected officials do not like to see negative things in their home newspaper. So I have already started an entire list of all of our elected officials and all the newspaper where they live. I've looked it up where they live, like Tucson or wherever, and then the papers that are popular in that area so that we can do that. And then also to positively to appreciate them as well, not just the negative stuff, but to thank them, which I've been practicing, believe it or not. So this link is live. It's how to write letters to the editor, really get their attention. That link is live. That's one resource for you. I've got more. Attending town halls, there's actually there's tips that you can use to be more effective when you go to these town halls. And like I said, showing up at events. You can talk to people. Oh, what happened there? You can talk to people and speak up against misinformation and disinformation. This too is an art. Communication is an art, isn't it? You know, it's not necessarily the messaging is what we say, how we deliver it is completely different. There's a lot of different ways that we can say, I need your help. There's a lot of different ways that we can say, the words that we would choose, like on the email a minute ago, I demand, that's a pretty strong word. And when I say I demand to you, Jackson, how do you feel when I say that?
Feel demanded of.
That's right. So that's a strong word to use. And I don't know that pulls you in to get you to help me. So, you know, messaging is important and we need to be thinking about that. And that's another meeting workshop in and of itself as well. And I think we all need help. We all need help. Even those of us that do it well need help because we really need to reach those independents. We need to reach the Republicans that are regretting their decision. And we need to get the people to vote. So we have work to do in talking to people over the next year or so. Okay, and then here's some reliable data sources. And I'm going to have to research all of this because it goes into Antonio's stuff around the do not and do the associates. It's all very complicated because anyway, I just need to research. But there are data services. There's reliable sources that you can use when you're trying to combat disinformation. So I wanted to put those links up there for you as well. And then here are what other things that we came up with. And again, we can add to this. All right. So there's financial activism. I love that word. Just stumbled on that the other day. If we can't do some of this other stuff, there are other things that we can do. You know, we can donate to organizations that support our cause and they're doing good work. ACLU, 5 calls, that common cause site a minute ago. You can pay for subscriptions to Substack instead of just doing the free version to support Antonio and Midas Touch Network or whoever else that you're referring to on Substack. That Goods Unite app, how many of you are using that? Do you know what it is?
No, oh, I did that.
So the Goods Unite app is so cool. You can click on that. I'd show you here, but Ellen's probably going to say you're running out of time. No, she's saying no. No demonstration.
We talked about it.
I know. No.
I would restate
Yeah.
what it is.
Yeah, I will. So Goods Unite Us is an app that you can use. And the first thing that they'll ask you to do is for you to complete a series of questions about where you shop and what brands you buy. And then they will tell you based on that, whether or not you're supporting organizations that support on the Republican side or Democrats. And so this is where we've also learned a lot about Costco is a huge Democratic supporter. And so it just gives you an opportunity to think about, where do you want to put your money? Do you want to put your money with people that are supporting your values and what's important to you? Or do you want to continue to support, put money in
Hobby Lobby.
Hobby Lobby, Hobby Lobby, Amazon, some of those others. And so it's a switch. It's definitely a mindset shift, to use this app and to figure out, it's putting your money where your mouth is. You can fundraise for organizations. That's some of the things that we're talking about here today. Fundraise for people that support. Thank you. You can rent a billboard. Ellen told me about that. I thought that was a cool idea. And then here I saw, like I just told you 2 days ago, I saw someone take a picture of an ad that they put in a newspaper, which, just for financial things that you can do to get your voice heard. You can build community. You can join or create an action group. So there are action groups that have been created here. If there's not an action group, I saw your hand. If there's an action group that's not created that you're interested in, then create it. Work with Toby. Toby's the one that's kind of leading that up for the joint effort between Indivisible and DORR. You can canvass, make sure people are registered to vote, ask if they need help. People are going to need a lot, I think, in the next year or so. So this is our opportunity to get out there, build community, help people, spread the message, and be a supporter of these people. What was your question?
There wasn't a question. It's not on there on financial activism, and that's support the boycotts that are periodic and that are happening. Don't buy Amazon during certain periods.
Perfect. Can you make a note of that? Somebody else? Awesome. Thank you for bringing that up. But you're right. Support the boycotts. Absolutely. Ellen said just meeting and greeting people here at events, bringing cookies and meeting and making people feel welcome when they come. That's service and that's building community. Here are other things that you can do is that you can, again, I think I've already had this on here, schedule a meeting with your member of Congress. You can make signs, you can host a sign party. I think, what you said, when is the sign party for?
The 11th.
The 11th, okay. Someone's nice enough to do that. You actually can run for office here locally. There are positions that are open and there's an active link here to the DORR site that shows where they are. I've actually thought about running for the education board. It really makes me mad that they're not teaching civics. I grew up learning about American history and geography and all that stuff, and it's all gone because of state testing, So no, I don't think they teach it at all. Civics. So
Since when?
I don't know.
At least the last 5 years.
It's insane. Did you learn American history?
So for me, I did in my because 3 out of my 4 years in high school were in Lancaster, California. I did take history classes, but for my senior year here in Arizona, their government class, I believe, was an optional elective that you could choose
Optional.
either this or a different one.
But that's convenient, isn't it? That's convenient for the Republicans who really don't want to anyone learn about history. And history is history. We need to learn from history.
I'm a little bit older than Mr. Jackson. I graduated high school in 2006. But senior year, every student took a 1 semester civics class followed by a 1 semester economics class. And while that sounds great, we took almost nothing away from that class except you had to get an A. You're in your senior year. You're just trying to pass. You're just
Try to get out.
and go
Yeah.
on with the next thing. So I took econ and learned almost nothing about finances.
Okay.
I learned enough to do the work in the class and get it done.
Yeah.
And I was a smart kid. I didn't struggle with that stuff at all. And I didn't really learn anything from it. So even when you have civics class in school, I learned enough to pass the quiz at the end of the week and the test at the end of the month.
Well, that was kind of how I got through school.
Yeah. So I don't know, just bringing civics back to the classroom is enough. We really have to make it important to the young.
That's true. That's different altogether, isn't it? That's the teacher in a lot of ways. Okay, so there we go. Put up lawn signs. So I don't know about you, but that really makes me nervous.
Yeah.
I'd like to take that flag and turn it upside down and put it out there, but it just makes me very nervous. I don't feel safe. So, and plus at the end of my street, nobody would see it, but you can put up lawn signs, you know, it's what you said. Once someone starts doing it, another one, I mean, people start doing it.
Well, when we had Antonia Scatton speak at our breakfast.
Yeah.
She recommended that when we said, when someone asked the question, how do you get outside your bubble? To talk to people or affect people that aren't in your own group. And she said lawn signs. So Jessica Williamson here had lawn signs designed, had them printed and is distributing them. And I saw one in the village of Oak Creek the other day. Yes, on somebody's front lawn. Yes. And people are also using them as signs at the protest. So good on you.
And
Yes.
Well, I always put out lots of lawn signs, and I have, across the street from me, I have Republican people who actually came to me and asked me, well, what are the propositions? You seem to know about politics. What are the propositions? How do you, what do you support? So you never know, who's going to reach out to you.
That's right.
You know about politics.
That's right. Awesome. One question I want to check in with the people that are online.
The townhouse, we don't have a lawn, we're not allowed, so we have it in our window that faces.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I literally live at the very end of the street after you drop down a little bit. No one would ever see it. So, but I can put it some other places, I guess. Okay, do we want to check in with people online? Because I'm getting ready to go into the top 5. So is there anybody, so who's helping with the?
Shelley.
Shelley, are there any comments? Does anybody want to say anything?
Not yet, but I just asked if anybody has any questions, so I'll
Okay.
get them in the chat and we'll let you know.
Okay, great. One more question, we'll advance.
Any question? So there's this members of the office positions, there's that link there, but what's the actual link? I'm Googling it. I'm Googling members of the office.
Sorry, it's on the door site.
On the door.
On the door site, right. And anyway, we're going to post these slides too. And the links will be live.
Okay, yes.
Okay, so I'm sure you're all curious for the top 5. You're curious, but it's not going to be like brand new information. So the top 5 issues that keep you up at night. There was a tie. I'm going to start with number 5. I'm going to do the whole, David Letterman. Those of you that are old enough to know who David Letterman is. The top 5 I've got, and I'll count up to count number 1. So number 5 was tied, and I'm sorry that you can't see.
Tied.
Tied with the economy. It's a passive Congress, and forgive me, these labels were mine because I did these. I took all those stickies home and I created the labels.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. It's okay. It's a passive Congress tied with the economy. So here were some of the stickies, okay? And just because you see 10 bullets there, it doesn't mean, that could mean that we could have had five people that said, we're the Congress people, but I just put kind of the bullet points. So there you go. You can take a look at this and we will post these slides so that you can kind of see. Passive electeds, passive members of Congress was tied with the economy. And so I put down here what's at risk. And I really, for me, in my conversations with people, instead of talking about, well, how come the Democrats aren't speaking up? I might say, the Democrats aren't speaking up, and what's at risk is our Constitution and our democratic institutions. I pointed to something instead of focusing on the complaint. That was just kind of what I was thinking. And then the economy, financial markets, destruction, Trump economy, the tariffs, everything crashing, going down, down, down. And what's at risk is our economic stability, our financial security, and look at our reputation around the world right now. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
A big, big deal. So the idea was for you to look at your handout and for you to think about what actions do you think you can take around those two topics, the economy and a passive members of Congress. So 5 calls, for example, might be one. Go ahead.
But there's no reference there to the cost of eggs.
But Trump says they've gone down.
Or anything else.
300%. Every day, and whoever he's talking to is a different number.
Trump.
That's easy.
It's what?
I said, who's Trump?
I heard someone say the other day, I thought this was great. Instead of blaming everything on the individual, Blame the GOP.
Yes.
Get it off of him. Because that gets into, and see, that's messaging, isn't it? Gets it off, it gets them being accountable. Instead of always saying Trump, 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 you know what? Because it is the GOP, because they have power that they're not using. They have power they're not using.
Concerned.
I think a lot of people that are concerned about guns in schools, you know, massive shootings too. So not doing enough. Okay, so does anybody have an idea that they want to share what they can do with that one? Yes. Yes,
Just one thing that bothers me so much, it has gotten less. There are still Democrats who use the words both sides. And it freaks me out every time. We need to stop. There are no more both sides. It's them who lie, who are cruel, who do all these horrible things, not us. I think we have to stop saying.
Well, and that goes into making them accountable, holding them accountable. This gets into messaging, this gets into all of this for me is about messaging. It's so critical right now.
Social media is a big thing because people seem to think that Republicans are the party of the working person and that the economy is better under Republicans, which is 100% wrong.
Correct.
So posting and amplifying posts that counteract that is something we could and should be doing to change people's minds.
So good, right? That's awesome. So.
Because I just have a question about that because I see some of that happen online at the Sedona.biz, where we have a guy coming out here who says things that are completely false. And then there's a bitter debate going back and forth on the other kind of thing. And this guy is not convinced. And the people who agree with him are absolutely not convinced by facts. Facts mean nothing. We've drunk the Kool-Aid. We don't know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
And suddenly you're into this really ugly.
It's very, yeah.
So I don't know. I haven't seen those kind of things work well.
So this gets into the whole, how do you fight disinformation? How do you combat, you know, and I was watching I come from Texas, and so Beto O'Rourke is running for governor, I think. And he's so passionate, but anyway, he cusses a lot, which I think is just not appropriate for someone in his position. But regardless, and I think that creates distance for me. But I love what he said, fight propaganda with truth. But it gets into exactly what you're saying. So I think there's an entire group of people, it doesn't matter if you told them right now the sky is blue, they would not agree. And that's not our target audience. It's just not. And so what do we do in a situation like that? I mean, again, this is a whole thing I really want to dig into and start studying for me. I really like to communicate, I like to connect, and I like information. And I get hooked when you can't combat that with facts. I get crazy.
I'd like to see us run canvassing. When we go door to door.
Yes.
Rather than go to Dems.
Yeah.
I'd like to go to Dems, Independents, and Republicans.
And that should be
all of them.
right. And that should be our target. Jessica, I'm sorry, I forgot your hand.
I'm just going to say, I post a lot, and I don't post for the people who drunk the Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
I post for the majority of people who read and don't comment because it's so ugly. And I've heard from a lot of people that they appreciate my factual statement.
Oh, good.
And so I don't think it's a waste to post on social media. It's not rewarding, but you're not talking. The thing to remember is you're not talking to Dave from Camp Verde. Dave from Camp Verde will never agree with you.
You're very correct. You're correct.
To the people who live next to you, who know you, and who say, thank you for posting information.
Right.
And those are the people you're talking to.
Yes.
So
thank you for reminding us that. That's true.
it's totally, I mean, I find it rewarding, but very positive.
Right. And I have to realize, when am I getting into what's called the boxing ring? When am
Yeah,
I,
you don't do that.
when am I getting into that and out of, this is the information I have to share with you, blah, blah.
You're gonna have to share it 100 times.
I know. No, I don't. Okay, I'm gonna move on. But that's great. Perfect. Okay, so the next one, number 4, foreign policy, which I called also alienating our allies. And we probably could even further expand on this today in terms of just the alienation, just the whole where we are in the United States. So what's at risk is our national security, our reputation, our brand, tourism, which is going to feed into the economy. And so instead of talking about, we're alienating our allies, we're alienating our allies. For me, I wanted to be able to say, and what's at risk is, and at least take it away from being combative and being more realistic. So was there any action that you could take that would be looking at that list? Yes.
On foreign policy, Sedona does have a group that meets one Monday a month called Sedona Great Decisions. It is part of the Foreign Policy Association. We meet at the library from 10 to noon.
Wow.
And there's always a talk on something of foreign policy.
Oh.
And we are supposed to be nonpartisan.
Mm-hmm.
However, we do have some people who have very loud voices from the right, and I try to stand up for facts and information and truth and accuracy. Anyone can come. It's free. It's called Sedona Great Decisions at the community library.
Great.
And that is a place. And my point, again, like Jessica says, is always to reach. There are 2 or 3, 4 people who are always very loud. I try to be one of them. Because I'm on the right side. But
the correct side.
Somebody's got to take one for the team.
Yeah.
But there are all the quiet ones who barely dare squeeze out a sentence.
Yeah.
And I keep trying to talk to them. I keep trying.
That's awesome.
But like you said, we won't convince the maggots.
Never.
But it is a place where you can meet middle of the road.
We don't want to get involved in a fight.
Right, exactly. Would you mind writing that down for me so I can add that to the list, that for group?
No.
Did you want me to stop right at 11 or do you need some time before?
Sometimes there is.
Just keep going.
Okay.
Okay,
I just wanted to make sure, I didn't
like you to complete because your slides are good.
No, I'm going to keep going. Okay, good. That was great. Thank you so much. Any others a minute ago that you could add to? Again, this is a list we're going to build.
This boycotting.
Boycotting, yeah. Okay, this one, I don't know why you can't see these. Oh, this is so bizarre. So the next one is number 3 is immigration, deportation without due process. This was the number 3 hot topic. And we all are knowing this, living this. These are some of the stickies. We all are very aware of this right now. So, and what I think is at risk here is, constitutional rights for everyone, not just these individuals. And if I wanted to point to amendments, it'd be the 5th and the 14th amendments. So, anyway, so what actions can we take? I think we've all been kind of doing. We've been doing some of this stuff. I've been making calls. I've been sending emails. Anyway. Anybody else have a comment about that?
Yes, Senator Gallego
Mm-hmm.
has been advocating reform to the immigration system, something that's been around for 20 or 30 years, maybe longer. And I would rather see it portrayed as supporting constitutional rights regarding immigration, as opposed to opposing some of the things that I think will turn people off.
That's a great positioning. Say that again, one more time. You would
I
rather,
would rather have the position described as supporting constitutional immigration rights or something like that. Which says, yes, we want to change the system, but no, we can't allow a breach of due process. Because I think when you get into due process, some people's heads start to
Right.
start to spin.
yeah.
And, I think a positive message on immigration is better than a negative one.
Great.
And I think the real threat, if it could be rephrased, is to due process. Due process is what is being attacked.
Mhm.
Immigration is just the first battlefield.
Yeah.
When they're done with immigration, they're going to keep going.
Right.
Due process is threatened.
Well, it's
Is the
true,
group
due
doing-
process is the issue. Due process is hard for people to understand,
Right.
especially people that have never taken a civics class. And
Messaging,
so
messaging.
the messaging is important, that we're talking about individuals and how they're impacted.
Right. Right. And I keep saying, if it happens to them, it can happen to you.
Absolutely.
But that's a simple, I mean, again, I have to work on it as well. Yes.
I agree with Diana, because I think that there are two separate issues. There's the due process issue, which crosses over many different types of violations that are happening. But there's, when we start talking about immigration and especially the attack on birthright citizenship, that is a very specific issue that is very clear, I think, to be able to inform people on. That this is something that is clearly written in, the words in the Constitution
Yes.
are not ambiguous. There is no gray area here. There's something that's clear that can be pointed to, that is, you have, an authoritarian dictator trying to take over and, the document that exists in the system, it's clear to start educating people with. It's a good issue to use as a gateway issue for people understanding some of the deeper issues. So I think it's important to focus on that for messaging.
I'm going to take Jackson, I'm going to take Toby, and then we got to move on.
I definitely agree with her, educating people about their rights, how to stand up to unlawful deportations and arrests. One thing that's going on in local universities like at ASU to try to combat ICE and illegal deportations is they try to expose people who do the reporting. Like there was one
Right.
person who got caught reporting like 50 Mexican students, whether or not they were legal. And so they put him on blast, they put him on posters, they said,
Wow.
this guy's trying to,
Wow.
trying to get rid of students. So
Called him out.
yeah, that's a big thing that I'm seeing with universities. So if you know someone is just really going at it, just put the name out, expose them so that they're not given a platform to try to,
I would make damn sure that was accurate first.
Yeah. Yeah.
Try not to, oh, like I said, ruin someone's life,
That's a big effort.
just make sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, Toby, thank you for saying that.
Is it Michelle?
Yes.
Are you taking any action from your group that meets on Mondays?
It's not an activist group.
No, it's not a politically activist.
It's a foreign policy group.
But it's not supposed to be partisan. But there is information, accurate information, and there are those who resist accurate information and who try to shut it down. And I just let that happen.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
I just need to check in with the people online. Anything coming through online?
No, unfortunately, nobody had any questions. So
Okay, good. Well, then we're
it's
clear.
ongoing. We're just enjoying the presentation.
Okay, good. Okay, the second one is eliminating, this one ended up being right, and eliminating reducing programs. And so these were the programs that got mentioned. And so I just lumped them all into, this actually could be called what? Almost Doge in a lot of ways, right? Just the implosion of our government programs, Social Security, environmental, national parks, Medicare, Medicaid, which is really hot right now, obviously, DEI, education. It's just so fascinating what's going on and how much goes on and how this is a really hot topic today and 2 days from now, like right now, everybody's talking about the airplane, right? It's so easy to forget, that this is really still going on. And so I think sometimes it feels like the chaos just distracts from the hidden work that's going on. So again, so this is the elimination of programs.
Remember student debt reduction.
Yeah, okay.
That would be important for young people.
Well, there you go. That's good. Can someone take that down? Because that's really, really good. Toby?
I was just speaking to the people in this building, if they would be affected by any cuts to Meals on Wheels because they make the
food here? And the answer was they're probably fine. The city of Sedona is very generous and even if there was a problem, outside donors and the city would support them, but that Cottonwood doesn't have that same support. So if you hear that anything did go through, which I don't think it will, maybe donations or contacting DORR to find out how you could donate would be good. I just wanted to bring that up because I heard it today.
Yeah, and again, this gets into helping the vulnerable. If we get to know our neighbors, we get to know what they need and how we can help them. But one of the things that just that you brought up to me that I wanted to highlight to you is that CAP, citizens, oh, is it on here?
American Progress.
We'll say that again.
Center for American Progress.
Is that what it is?
Yeah,
Is that CAP?
it says.
They want stories. They want stories where people have been impacted by Doge, and I think this feels like Doge. So they want stories. They need to be able to have stories. So if you know of people, that's a great way for to be of service, is to help them because they're collecting data. They want to be able to share these stories, et cetera.
I want to point out that Doge is not mentioned on this.
I know it's not. Doge had like 5 stickies on it, but I think that this is, don't you roll? Yeah. Okay, good. Because I rolled it all up and thought that, and again, I was kind of acting completely on my own.
I just also wanted to add to the mix that reducing a veteran program, we no longer have an access point for veterans to get healthcare.
Veterans it's a veterans was a topic that had less stickies. I mean, believe me, I have the sheet up. There was a lot of topics that came up that just didn't have the volume of stickies. And so these were the volumes.
There are international issues like cutting US aid.
Yes. They could go on the slide as well.
I just wanted to add about one of the good things about talking about veterans affairs is that it brings together people from all political standpoints. A lot of people think who are, veterans and that's a Republican issue, but really they're being really.
So I really want to work on messaging. So to have y'all come and help us. You sent me something recently that it was a survey and it had to do with Doge and the people that were, I probably have it in my bag, but 60%, these are the messagings. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. I took all of that and I was able to come up with a canned statement for me on how I can speak about Doge. If we could do that, for these topics, I think it would be just awesome. Backing it up with facts. That would be my vision, and to practice it so that it comes out of my mouth naturally, and because we really need to be able to talk to people. Yes.
These are all underlying things that we've probably been doing for a long time, is to take everything up there that has anything to do with social services and make them private.
Right. Privatizing.
Yeah, it's privatizing, which.
Or get it to the state.
Which means it's wonderful that in the Verde Valley, maybe we can support Meals on Wheels. We shouldn't be supporting Meals on Wheels in Cottonwood because those are programs that the government should be doing some of these social safety net programs. And every time you do it, you create a system like education in places that's where the people providing the service are providing it from a very specific, limited viewpoint. I'm providing this, but you can only participate if you're Catholic. You can only participate if you're, they can't quite come out and say you can only participate if you're white, but that's going to be a result of these things.
White and the right kind of Christian.
So that program for today, everybody can get Meals on Wheels, comes down to, yes, we'll feed you, but you come to our church and you listen to a sermon and you can have dinner. We won't charge you tuition if you come to our school, but you're going to have some kind of religious instruction.
Yeah, they've already passed that in Texas.
And that's the whole idea that's behind the Project 2025 is all of this stuff that the federal government should provide for the Army and fix your potholes. And everything else should be done by private individuals who then have the ability to discriminate as to who they provide their
That's a
money.
good way to describe that. Okay, so what's at risk? Social safety nets, you just mentioned it. Protections, public health and public safety. So public health and safety, that's what's at risk. All right, so let me go to the number one. Dun, da, da, da. The number one. Wow. There were probably almost 50 stickies around this. And so this isn't surprising, right? So And this is, you know, like several people would have, you know, I mean, these stickies represent 50, believe it or not.
The tip of the iceberg.
It's, yeah, exactly. So, and again, we'll post the slides and then I'll also give Ellen the document that I've summarized everything. Easy for you to follow, but, so yeah. So what's at risk, you know? Just everything. Everything, because this is everything. Did you have a comment?
I do. I've said this before, but I think that it's important to weed out or find issues that cut across political lines. And I agree with every one of these, although not necessarily the priorities.
Right.
But I think we have to identify and pare down issues that cut across the political spectrum.
I agree.
Because that's what's going to appeal to independents and hopefully moderate Republicans.
And again, messaging is all about that. So if we could work together, have a workshop, I would love to. I'll organize it. We can do it outside of a meeting, so it's kind of find time and really come up with some statements. I would just, my heart would be real happy. All right, so Toby, and then I promised Ellen I was going to get to my next slide.
Real quickly, I wanted to say that Donna is going to be heading the action group messaging.
That's right.
I do have a clipboard here to sign up to be with her on messaging. And this is a new leader of this group. And as you can tell from today, it's probably going to be going pretty well. And
We're going to move forward on it. And that was one of the actions too on here. You know, and I think I mentioned it. Create an action. If there's something that's going on, foreign policy is not an action group, I don't think. You know, get with Toby, create it. Take what you're learning there in your group and bring it in here, and let's come up with some actions that we can take on that around that. Okay. Anybody else have any other comment with this? Because I'm going to switch gears.
It'll be quick.
Jackson, okay, go ahead. I still got a couple.
One unfortunate positive with all of this is that the one reliable thing we can bank on is that Trump, while yes, authoritarian fascist, is very incompetent. So he's not doing any of this intelligently. He's not dismantling anything with thought.
We cannot. So here's my theory on that. I'm sorry. So my theory on that is, you know, all of these executive orders were already written before he ever walked in the door. And he certainly isn't smart enough to do that. It's all being run by Project 2025 and by I actually saw somebody on Substack the other day that said there were 3 different groups that were running it all. He's just the face. So, and they're just gonna let him do his thing while they do all this. So he likes the power. So they pick the right person.
Yes.
If they can just control him. So, all right. Well, so that's it. Those are the top 5. There's all sorts of other issues that were identified, that were ranked, and I'll publish those so that y'all can see them. Okay. Doesn't mean through the work stop, we just focus on these. It's just these were what kept y'all up at night. All right, so we'll just talk about this for just a second. So the No Kings protest is June 14th, right? Yep. And there's a sign making party on June 11th. And so I've read an article that was published by Indivisible that talks about the importance of messaging when we are doing these organized protests. And so I put a couple of slides together and you'll see what I mean. So the idea behind all of these protests is for people to be able to take the pictures, post them on social media. It's so that the news outlets can report on it. And so what happens is if there's not an organized message, this is what we end up with. Okay. So this is wonderful, hands off our democracy, but who in here can everybody in here agree what democracy is? So it gets diluted. It's not succinct. It's not clear. We understand it. I read a statistic that 19% of the people who voted don't keep up with any kind of news. So they don't know what to make of this when they see it on their social media feed. And then this one here is just, wow. You see people, but how can someone report on that? How can the media really report on that, right? So, and then here, you know, what's the message here? There's all kinds of messaging out there, right? These are people who are pissed off.
I know. I think they understand what that means.
They do, but how do they, you know what? There are people on the other side. What would people on the other side, or what would independents say about these signs?
They're very aggressive.
They're aggressive. What else would they say?
They're great.
But they're not cohesive.
Yeah, they're not.
Well, I saw a thing on Arizona Horizon where one of the reporters said about the April 5th march. I asked people, what are you marching for? Because it was everything under the sun. She said, I don't know what you're protesting.
Right.
What's the message?
What's the message? Right. And so I think that people would look at this and they, you know what? All it does is tell me that they hate Trump.
Yeah.
That's all that says. It confirms my bias that all the liberals just don't, they hate Trump. And they're out to get
How
Trump.
about the liberals hate lies?
Well, that's not what you're going to see with
Not
this.
what you know, but it is what you're gonna see with orange light.
That's right, but orange, they're gonna associate that with him, and all of it is angry and it's aggressive, like what's been said, and it's expressing their moral outrage. Okay, so here though, what's the message here?
Hands off.
Right. That's clear. Hands off a lot of things. Hands off our immigrants. Sorry, these are blurry. Hands off our veterans. Hands off. It's all that is something they can walk away with and write about. So on June 4th, yes, Jessica.
So the sign should not be everybody's own creation.
Nope.
They should be orchestrated. I'm asking, I meant to ask the question.
So I understand that. So you have First Amendment rights and you get to protest and if you want to use this sign right here, you can do it. But this is an organized.
But if you want to be
nationwide,
what should you do?
if you want to be effective in this organized effort, I would stick with the messaging that Indivisible puts out, which we haven't gotten yet, to my knowledge.
But there's a lot of things that affect authoritarianism, and we didn't elect the king, and
That's right. It'll all
there's
be
a lot of signs of messaging saying he's stealing our country.
It will all be around this.
It's about branding.
It's branding.
You can do it, you can personalize your sign, and you should personalize your
Yeah.
sign, I feel. But it needs to be a sort of common brand theme, so that things are organized, so that, so that media can walk away with a clear understanding of why you gather.
And
why 1,000 people got together and came out when they could be doing other things with their time, because they cared about why. The what has to be.
And that we can reach the people that don't read the news. We can reach the people better that don't read the news. We can reach the people that we want to sway. I mean, it really can target our audience more if we have a cohesive message. Can you have on the flip side a picture of the orange? Yeah, you can, but if we want to send a message, the messaging needs to be somewhat cohesive. Toby?
I was just gonna say that they do send a message to me that people are angry. And I
They do.
do that at my meetings. People are very upset.
Right.
So when I see hands off immigration, yes, that does send a direct message. But
Yeah.
when I see an picture.
Yes.
It says somebody's really angry.
I completely agree with you that, and I have a document, I haven't had a chance to study it, on the different meanings and messages that we convey when we send these messages. And so moral outrage, outrage is one of them. But when we're doing an organized nationwide protest, I think we need to try to be as cohesive as possible. That's it. Jackson?
The one thing about, because with the recent protests and organizations, there was a movement with the Black community to not attend because what would happen is that MAGA protesters, people would try to infiltrate and then provoke a Black protester into acting angry, so they could use that for the media. So when I look at that a-hole poster, as funny as it is, if I just take a picture of that and show it to a majority of people,
they will be disgusted.
I'm gonna tell them these Democrats are grotesque. They're mean, they're violent, what you say,
They're full of hate.
Exactly. You can express your anger, but those signs give people fuel to go against you. So
Yes.
it's very delicate balance.
Well said.
Which is also another, our actions at these marches are really important. We're gonna have some de-escalation training, but also you don't want to play into their hands so they can then point to you and say, look what that person did. You don't want to antagonize somebody who's there on the corner disagreeing with you. You just silently try to avoid any conflict. And we will have some training on that sort of thing.
Yeah.
That's important, and the de-escalation. But, and it's hard when somebody's egging you on like that. But another thing we're supposed to do is think about 2 sentences. If a reporter comes up to you and says, why are you here? You want your sentence to come right out of your mouth immediately. You don't want the lead to be buried on sentence 13 because blah, 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 blah. You want to be ready to go if somebody asks you questions.
That gets into
Why are
your-
you here?
Your elevator speech that you bring. you brought up
Exactly,
before.
an elevator speech, perfect it, memorize it,
Yeah.
take it with you in your brain whenever you need.
Again, that's another, all the communication piece is so big right now. We could really do some serious workshops on it. I wanted to circle back to you because we're out of time. I wanted to circle back to you. Out of the things that we discussed today, are there any, other than the communication and the messaging, are there any things that you need help with in order for you to take any of these actions that we talked about today? Do you need help?
Sleep.
Okay. Stress management, yes.
I brought 2 people to the sign making party before April. I'm sorry.
Yeah. For the April 5th protest?
And all 3 of us said, what should we be saying?
Yeah.
We know we had 10 options, but we wanted to be unified.
Yeah.
To be more impactful.
So I think-
So before the next sign
Yes.
painting party, could we focus?
Yeah.
Well, I think it'll be a tag onto an Indivisible will put out, and Indivisible is going to probably put out their signs and we'll probably just take off from that. But, you can be creative. I think just stay with the theme,
I have a whole list.
Okay.
I've been working on for this.
And I'm coming to the party, so I don't know about anyone else, but I'm going to come to the sign making party. So Jackson, and then I don't know your name. Katie. Okay, Jackson, go ahead.
Well, if anybody knows anyone in Prescott, any collaboration there, because that is a very red territory. Sometimes it's a little.
Well, you can come join us down here if you want. If you want to feel connected.
Exactly. I already feel connected.
Okay, good. Okay. You're welcome anytime.
Yeah. Y'all know anyone in Prescott?
I know no one there.
Go down there for something. We
Okay.
could use all the help we can get.
All right, cool. Is it Katie?
Yes.
Yes.
Two quick things. One is, apropos of people having information. It would somehow be helpful if we had like information, maybe an email that went out with bullet points of facts of things that we can be armed with to be able to help educate ourselves and other people. Like,
Yeah.
quick facts, because it can be so amorphous.
So the three on one of my slides, and we're going to post it. It had make sure that you're citing cite accurate facts. There's 3 sites, and this will be published, so you could start there. USA Facts was one of them. Common Cause Resource Library was one, and I can't remember who the other one was.
Yeah.
So sites.
Yeah, and the other one is, I think it could be helpful too, the next time we go out and protest, to be out on the street longer instead of secluding away from the street, because I thought we got some good visibility. When we got to the rally, it kind of terminated the visibility pretty early, but I don't know if the decision making was on probably the house as well.
Noted.
And sample speeches to respond to press questions. Like you said, if the press says, why are you here? Well, what should we say?
Oh, that's great. That's good.
Good.
You know, there's no overarching answer, I think, because if you care about immigration and you care about LGBTQ rights, and if you care about the environment, whatever it is, you can just always say, I think rights are being trampled. I care about blah, blah, blah. Rights are being trampled.
Okay.
No authoritarians, no dictator, right?
Okay.
I think rights are being trampled. My issue is blah, blah, blah. But you can, again, it's whatever people, because people care about different things on different levels. But what's the overarching theme is we have a government now that's taking over trampling rights, whether it's,
trying to, again, back to the due process issue versus ignoring the Constitution versus not understanding the idea of checks and balances and what we built this country on. I mean, well, it's about having a common theme. It's marketing, branding, right? Having a common theme that you can tie your point back to so that there's always a link in visibility. Think like your McDonald's, think like your Pepsi Cola, think like your whatever. You know, the brand becomes recognizable, but you're making a different point each time. Right?
Okay. Okay, those of you that have really spoken up today around messaging, can you please see me afterwards? Okay, so is there anybody online that has a comment? Do we need to check in with them?
Yeah, we do have a couple of comments.
Okay.
Both from Peggy. They would see the numbers of protests and protest events are increasing. So that's just a messaging thing. And then this is another one that's actually very interesting in what you were just saying. Problem in waiting for national messaging is that it takes away from local spontaneity. Local issues can also give cohesive messages related to the local issue.
That's true. Yeah.
So adapt. What they give us and just adapt.
Yeah, that's right. And stay with the theme. I think that for these big nationwide, or, you know, the goal is to, you know, just stay within the theme so that we can get more publicity from all sorts of places. Thank you.
We're done.